Hello everyone, Charles Watts here, the Arsenal correspondent at Goal, joining you on Friday. We're just one day away now from Arsenal returning to Premier League action with a really interesting game, I think, at Leicester. Intrigued by this one, how Arsenal are going to perform. 8 games unbeaten for Arsenal, obviously 6 wins, 2 draws in all competitions. Yet to really produce a big away day display though yet this season. Had the win at Burnley, which was a good battling win, but I would suggest if they're going to win at Leicester on Saturday, they're going to have to play better than they played at Turf Moor. So really intrigued to see if a sort of confident Arsenal side can go up to one of the Premier League's top teams and produce a really decent away performance. They did last season at the King Power, winning 3-1, I think it was. Actually, one of their best away performances of the season, probably one of the best away performances under Mikel Arteta, but the whole caveat of that was obviously behind closed doors, a little bit different to what they're going to expect and face this Saturday at Leicester. So intrigued to see if Arsenal can go up there, sort of continue the momentum they've shown in recent weeks and really produce a type of performance that can get them all 3 points. Mikel Arteta has just been speaking about that game at today's press conference, so we'll go over a few things of what he said, certainly in terms of team news, that sort of thing. But I wanted to start on his comments about William Saliba. I think they're probably the most interesting comments to come from at today's press conference. Saliba obviously playing very, very well over in France for Marseille on that loan spell, was fantastic last week against PSG in that 0-0 draw, made that tackle against Kylian Mbappe that went everywhere, all across the internet, sent social media into a bit of a Saliba meltdown, which you see time and time again whenever he's playing for Marseille. You always see his name trending one way or the other. And Mikel was asked about that and said, did you see it? He said, yes, I did. And then he revealed that Edu, obviously Arsenal's technical director, and Ben Napper, Arsenal's loan manager, were over in France at the Stade Velodrome to watch that match. He said, as a club, we are always in touch. They went to see the game. Edu and Ben were there to watch him and keep a close eye on him and the progress he is making. Obviously, he's our player, and we do that with all loan players that we have. So yeah, interesting that Ben and Edu actually went over there. I'm not surprised Ben does, because I know he does do that with loan players. He travels over and sees them a few times during their loan spell. But the fact Edu went over there as well, I thought was quite interesting. Mikel said he just needs to continue to do what he's doing, which is play a lot of games and play well. He was asked if it was going to be a sort of battle next season between him, Gabriel and Ben White, obviously, to start, and he said that is the decision we will have to make in the summer. Obviously, he's our player, naturally that will happen. We'll have to sit down and decide what is the next step for him. And then I asked him, is it possible, given their ages, Ben and Gabriel both under 24, William only 20, is it possible for them to be accommodated next season, given at that age you kind of need to play, you need to keep developing? And he said there is room. I think there is room. Again, it will depend on what happens with other players, and that's not a conversation to have now. And when he talks about that, you presume that means what happens with Rob Holding. Will Rob Holding go next summer? Will Callum Chambers go next summer? Will Pablo Mari go next summer? Arsenal still have a dearth of centre-backs at the club. They've been trying to reduce it one by one for a couple of seasons now. That's one of the big reasons why William was sent out on loan. It's going to be intriguing. I think that comment there when he said we'll decide what happens in the summer, what the next step is the intriguing one. The fact that William's only got 2 years left on his contract is going to be a really big summer in terms of what happens for him. I know you want him to stay. I want him to stay. He looks like one hell of a talent. You don't want to be getting rid of big talents if you've got them on your books. But I think it's given the way things have gone for Saliba since he's arrived at Arsenal, that the club, Arteta, Edu, they're going to, those talks in the summer are not going to be the easiest talks. They're going to have to really convince him that he has a long-term future at the club, that they believe in him, because you're going to need him to sign a new contract with only got 2 years left on his deal. Because if you don't and let him go into a final year, then you're in that situation that Arsenal always seem to find themselves in when you're risking losing what could be a very valuable asset for a pretty cheap amount of money. I mean, Arsenal spent 27 million to buy William Saliba. They haven't even played him yet. He hasn't played a single minute. So then to lose him for next to nothing, given his clear potential, would just be an absolute, I don't know, or it'd just be classic Arsenal, wouldn't it? So I thought they were interesting comments from Mikel on William Saliba, and certainly it's going to be a story, I think, that rumbles on every single time he plays well this season. Arteta's going to get asked about him again. and it's just going to be one that rumbles on until the end of the season. But that's what Mikel had to say about William Saliba. In terms of sort of team news ahead of the Leicester game, there's this sickness bug that's going around. It's what ruled Pablo Mari out of the game against Leeds in midweek. It's what forced Ben White to go off injured, go off ill against Leeds in the early stages of the second half in midweek. And Mikel was talking about that a little bit more. He explained a little bit more about it. He said there's been a few of them who haven't been able to train. He says it's just a bit of sickness, tummy aches and stuff like that. But he does add that hopefully everyone will be okay today. So I get the impression that Arsenal haven't trained too much since the Leeds game. I mean, Martin Odegaard was pictured training yesterday, which is good news because he was injured, obviously, and missed the Leeds game, was due to start. So he looks like he's clearly back available. There was no sign of Ben White in the training pictures yesterday, and Mikel admitted today that he hasn't trained. This is what he had to say about Ben White, actually. He said he hasn't trained, so we'll have to wait and see how he's feeling and make a decision then. You would hope that it wouldn't be too bad. The fact that, although he was struggling a bit with it on Tuesday night, the fact that he even played, you would suggest, hopefully it's not, he's not totally laid up with sickness, and you would hope that he's going to be fit to play, because I think it would be a big, big blow if Arsenal lost Ben White on Saturday, because him and Gabriel are really sort of forging this strong partnership now, which is beginning to look very, very encouraging. I haven't got the quotes that I thought I'd written down, but Mikel was speaking about that partnership during the press conference today, and talked about how Gabriel's really learning his English, and his English is improving, and that's really helping with how him and Ben are sort of becoming more and more compatible on the pitch. And he said that he was talking about Ben White and how he's really beginning to settle now and show what he's all about, with the way he's sort of bringing the ball out from the back and how confident he is on the ball. And those two are certainly showing signs of that centre-back partnership becoming really formidable, and you wouldn't really want to lose that now at such an important stage, just as Arsenal are beginning to get momentum. You want to keep them together as long as possible. So hopefully Ben White will be available today. I'm sure we'll all keep an eye out for the training pictures. If they drop later this afternoon, which I expect they would, we might get a new training ground edit from the video team as well, which should show us exactly who is and who isn't available and who isn't training ahead of that game against Leicester. But team news wise, it's not looking the worst in terms of Kieran Tierney. This is what Mikel had to say. He said he's progressing in training. He felt a little bit better these last few days, but he wasn't 100% to start against Leeds. We'll see what happens in the next 48 hours. So Tierney possibly available as well. I would say, as I think I mentioned in yesterday's video, that even if he is available, I think Nuno Tavares might well keep his place in the team, given his performance against Aston Villa last weekend. I thought Tavares was really impressive, and if there's any sort of doubt over Kieran Tierney's fitness, then you just reward Tavares with another start after his excellent display, rather than rushing Tierney in and risking him aggravating the injury further. I mean, Tierney's not been at top form this season anyway. He's struggled, I think, to sort of hit the heights. Maybe he's having a little bit of a post-Euros hangover, and he's struggled to find the sort of form he showed on such a regular basis when he was fit last season. So I don't think there's any need to really rush Kieran Tierney back in for this one. You just go with Tavares and reward him for that performance against Aston Villa, which was very, very good. It will be intriguing to see how he gets on if he does start, because this will no doubt be his biggest test yet, away from home against a team like Leicester, who we know attack. We've got some very good players on the counter-attack, full of pace, full of trickery. When you look at Vardy, who's fit, Daka, James Maddison, who's beginning to get back towards top form, Inacho if he plays as well, Harvey Barnes if he's available and plays. They've got lots and lots of decent attacking players, Leicester, and how Tavares copes with that will certainly show us a lot in terms of just how far he is in terms of his development, because he was very much brought as one for the future. Arsenal coaches and Arteta, the scouting network who identified him, all are very much aware that he's very raw and he's work in progress. We perhaps haven't seen that yet because his performances have been good whenever he's played, but I think if he gets really, really tested by a top quality attacking team, then we may well see that he's not quite at the top level yet. So it'll be intriguing to see how he gets on at the King Power, and it'll be no doubt an area you would think Leicester might look to exploit if he does start, and Arsenal might need to protect the young fullback a little bit. In terms of predicted 11 for tomorrow's game, this is what I'm going to go for. I think we're going to see the same starting 11 that played against Aston Villa. Yeah, this isn't based on any information. This isn't the team that I would necessarily pick. It's just what I think Mikel will go for. Like I said, I just don't think he'll take any risk with Kieran Tierney. If Ben White doesn't play, then I expect Rob Holding to start, providing Rob Holding's injury wasn't too bad against Leeds. So I'll have to wait and see on that. There is a little doubt about him. We're not sure if it was cramp or not. Mikel didn't provide any sort of update on that in today's press conference. But if everyone's fit out of this lot, I think the starting 11 will be this. Ramsdale, Tomiyasu, White, Gabriel, Tavares, Partey, Sambi, Saka, Smith-Rowe, Lacazette and Aubameyang. So I think Odegaard will once again probably be on the bench, even if he is fit and available, which he appears that he is, considering the pictures that we saw. I asked Mikel a little bit about Martin Odegaard actually during today's press conference, because I think Odegaard, I'm going to do a piece, you look out for it, it's going to go live on Goal tomorrow, doing a piece on Odegaard, and it's safe to say I don't think he's really hit the heights he hit during this loan spell last season. He's struggled a little bit at the start of the season, just 1 goal and 1 assist in his 8 games so far for Odegaard. It's not just those numbers that are down, sort of across the board his numbers are down in terms of output, in terms of chances created per 90 minutes, shots, touches in a game, progressing the ball into the penalty area, even his pressing stats and winning the ball back in the final third. All of those numbers have all sort of dipped, and I asked Mikel about it and if he's concerned a little bit about Odegaard's form, and he said he's come back. He came back a little bit late in pre-season. He had an injury as well in pre-season. He picked up an injury before Aston Villa. And so he said credit to him for playing. He said when he has played, I think he's done it at a really good level, and his numbers can change quickly. But the numbers I don't think are fair as well, because he has missed some games. I then asked, but having said that, you've spoken publicly about Bukayo and Emil needing to improve their output and improve their final third numbers. Is the same apply for Martin? He said absolutely. All the players that are playing in the attacking line have to contribute at the maximum level that is required to achieve the numbers you need to be the best team in the league. If you don't, you just won't get there. It's just maths. So a bit of a challenge there from Mikel towards Martin Odegaard in terms of improving his attacking numbers. It has to be noted, I think, that Martin has played at times this season in the sort of 4-3-3 formation that we've seen, and when he plays there, he plays a lot deeper. He's nowhere near up as high up on the pitch as he is when he's playing in that number 10 role in the 4-2-3-1. So that must be taken into account, certainly for a couple of games. Burnley away, when he scored the winner with that free kick actually, and Crystal Palace as well, when he played in the 4-3-3, sort of basically was the deepest line player alongside Thomas Partey in that one. So there are mitigating circumstances perhaps, and the fact he has been carrying a couple of injuries, but even so, I think we all we know that Martin Odegaard can make a big difference. He did last season when he came in, and certainly added an awful lot more vibrancy and creativity to that attack alongside Bukayo and Emil Smith-Rowe, and I think you want to see Martin start producing those sort of performances now, because he hasn't really done it yet since he's made that move permanent in the summer from AC Milan. So there's certainly room for improvement when it comes to Martin Odegaard, I believe. And that's about it for today's video. Thank you very much for watching, everyone. I will be heading up to Leicester tomorrow bright and early. It's a lunchtime kickoff. Fingers crossed we can get the weekend off to a good start, as we did last weekend with that game against Villa on the Friday night. So keep an eye out for my live updates from the King Power. I'll try and do my usual stuff before and after the game. It does depend a little bit on the setup in the press box and things like that. So I won't absolutely promise I'll do the pre-match live broadcast from the warm-ups, but I will try my best to do it, and player ratings, of course, after the game as well. So keep an eye out for that one. Until then, have a very good Friday, everyone. Enjoy your nights tonight, and I'll speak to you tomorrow.